Hello, first graders. We are back with our color wheels that we worked on for last week. And last week's video stopped us at the end of our color wheel. Remember, you had a medium size-ish circle tracer. Maybe you had a little bit bigger, maybe you had a little bit smaller. And then we worked on adding our primary colors and then mixing, challenging yourself to mix the two primary colors that make that secondary color. I think I talked about it last week, but just in case I didn't, those secondary colors always come in between the two colors that are mixed to make the color. Okay, and we often don't mix crayons. We can layer them, which is how Miss Waters did hers. You can mix paints and chalks and things a little bit better and blend them together. But I wanted to show you just, even though it's crayon, it still gives you that illusion of being green and purple and orange are secondary colors. So now, here is where you get to show your creativity. Now this is always a little iffy because I find that if Miss Waters draws something, everybody wants to draw what Miss Waters draws. So before we actually get to the drawing, I want you to spend a few minutes brainstorming, maybe with your brother or sister, or maybe with your mom or dad, and come up with a little list of things that you can think of that are round, like our color wheel, in everyday life. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example. If I'm thinking about things, maybe I'm thinking, oh, clocks can be round. Oh, I'm thinking that lights could be round. I'm thinking umbrellas are kind of round. I'm thinking tires are round. So I'm making a list in your head. You don't have to write it down. You can just talk it out with somebody. If you don't work with somebody, you can do that yourself. So once you've got a little list, doesn't have to be like 20 items, but that will give you more choices to choose from. I want you to choose one, and then that's what your color wheel is going to become in your drawing, because we're not done. We've still got this whole paper that we have to deal with here. Okay, so I'm gonna, and sometimes it helps to have your color wheel in front of you to turn the directions and kind of think about what it could be. Now it looks like my paper's upside down because look, I wrote first grade on here and now that's upside down, but that's not part of my drawing, right? So I don't need to worry about that. Now, when I got to this point on my paper where my color wheel sits a little bit closer to the bottom of my paper than the top, I started seeing something. So I'm just going to start, and I'm working with pencil to start because I want to get this all laid out before I go in with anything else. So mine is going to be a wheel of some kind, and I just need to think it out for a minute. I might have to try to draw over top. Some of this is marker. Remember, I did my primaries in marker, but then I used crayon. It'll be hard to draw on the crayon, but I'll try. So I'm going to need something down here so it looks like mine is sitting on the ground. But I want you to be creative. I don't want you to do what Miss Waters does. It can be a wheel, but make it a wheel on something else, okay? So I'm thinking this is going to be my ground area, just lightly sketching that in there. There's going to be, oh, let's see here. I'm going to need something up here, like some kind of a seat, sort of like a bike seat. Have you ever seen a bike seat, right? Maybe there's like a couple designs on it or something, and then we have this part that's going to come down and sort of attach here maybe with something, and then down in this sort of middle section is where I'm going to have, and it'll be hard to see, I'll have to come in a few minutes with something a little bit darker so it'll show up. This is going to be my pedal right here. So I've got my pedal here. My pedal's going to have some lines on it. I know that's hard to see. I'll get a marker real quick and I'll go over it so that you can see it a little bit better what I'm doing. So it's attached here. And here's the main petal part. And it's kind of three-dimensional. Hopefully you can see that a little bit better. Yes, yes, maybe. Got my seed up here. Now you don't have to trace yours over with marker, okay? You can if you want to, but then I feel like then I gotta trace my color wheel, which is fine, right? Got my fancy wheel here, and maybe there's spokes like on an actual bicycle, right? So maybe I'm gonna throw some lines in here. I can still see my colors, so it's gonna be weird on top of the crayon, marker on top of crayon's a little weird, but it's showing up okay enough. Doesn't matter how many, right? It depends on what you're drawing. Oh, I forgot this little guy right here. All right, so there's that. I got my road here. It's kind of maybe a bumpy little road. Maybe there's some stuff. I'm going to come in with more color, and I'll talk about that in just a second. All right, so I've got my seat, and now I've got to have somebody sitting on the seat. So let's see, what's that going to look like? Miss Waters, believe it or not, is not super great at drawing things out of my head, so that is unfortunate. And we'd have a leg coming down. We got to have the foot down here on the pedal. A little bony knee, right? Coming up here. The other shorts. I'm going to have to color in the shorts nice and dark now that my seat is see-through. If you're using pencil, you could erase that out later on, right? And you might see a little bit of the other leg coming down, but it's going to disappear because it's behind on the other side. And then we've coming in, we've got the, and I'm just being real sketchy here because it's just kind of coming up. Maybe the arm is kind of out so that I'm being balanced a little bit. And then it's disappearing off the top of the paper, so maybe I've got some sky in the background. Maybe off in the distance you can see some mountains. Okay, so you get the kind of general idea. The other hand's kind of up this way, little bony elbows. All right, so there's my person. I can go into more detail in a little bit. So there's my person riding a bike, and it's a unicycle because it only has one wheel. So I would continue, maybe some more clouds, maybe there's like the hint of a tree kind of off here on the side. Trees have to be attached to the ground, so make sure it comes down under the ground. And I would go ahead then and color the rest of it. Now how you color, it's up to you. Maybe you want to paint your background and you happen to have a set of watercolor paints. You can do that. You want to use your markers. You want to use your crayon. This for me is more about us learning about those secondary colors and primary colors. I'm not worried about what colors you're using back here. If you only want to use those colors, that's fine. But if you want to use other colors, that's fine too. So Miss Waters is going to stop here because this video would be way too long if I continue to color. But I just wanted to show you how you can be creative to turn that into something. I gave you some ideas, but brainstorm with your people and see what you can come up with. Maybe it's the center of an eyeball, it's the iris, but this person has a 6-colored iris instead of one color, like Miss Waters' blue eyes or your blue eyes or brown eyes or green eyes. So be very creative. There are so many things that are circular in shape. I want to see your ideas. Make sure you're using all of the space of your paper. Make sure when you get to your color, even though Miss Waters has not done it here, that you are coloring and filling the shapes with color. And you're doing your best coloring to fill those shapes. We want to kind of think, unless you're leaving clouds or something white that should be white, that this paper was not white when we started. See how well my color wheel is filled in? You would not have known that that paper was white before. So I can't wait to see your creations. When you finish, make sure you take a picture and upload it to the project assignment on Seesaw.